Hello everybody, hello all my Patreon subscribers, welcome back to another Physiognomy Academy course, or lesson I should say. Today we will be looking at one of the most significant features in physiognomy and face reading, one that people read all the time and are even conscious of reading it even if they don't believe in physiognomy: the eyes, the windows of the soul. Now, like I said, these are extremely important in physiognomy. They tell us a lot about a person. Now, generally in physiognomy, an organ or a feature's meaning is related to its function. So in the case of eyes, what do eyes do? Well, eyes see. So primarily, eyes tell us about someone's perception, their worldview, how they see the world. But in addition, eyes are also very important in emoting and telling other people how you're feeling. So there's also a secondary element of them being related to emotions, social connections, relationships, that sort of stuff, but primarily perception. Now we're going to start right off the bat with size, the size of the eyes relative to the rest of the face. The size of the eyes tell us about someone's openness. You can think of the pupil within the eye itself almost. The bigger the pupil is, the more light it lets in. The smaller it is, the less light it lets in. So likewise with the eye as a whole. The bigger the eye is, the more stuff and the more uncritically someone takes in stuff. The smaller it is, the more critically someone perceives things. So people with big eyes are very innocent and naive. We like to say they're wide-eyed. Children have bigger eyes as well, and that's because they're very innocent and open to the world. And likewise, small beady eyes means that someone is very cynical and untrusting, more perceptive maybe than someone with big eyes who just accepts things as they are. Now the next aspect of eyes are the shape. This tells us about the shape of the worldview, the lens through which someone perceives the world. If the eyes are almond shaped, which generally means that they have a flat bottom there, that means that they see the world through the lens of their intellect. But if they're round, meaning that they have a significantly curved lower area of the eye, that means that they perceive the world through the lens of their morals and emotions. And regardless of the shape, if the eyes are especially squinty, this means that someone has an extra cautious worldview. They're always looking out for dangers. Now, of course, the thing people always bring up with this are East Asians, right? Well, don't all Asians have almond-shaped eyes? Doesn't that mean they all have an intellectual worldview and none of them are moral or emotional? Well, you have to look at it relative to the racial norm. Round eyes for an East Asian person is going to be a lot subtler than it would be for a Westerner or an African. This is why I brought up the eyelid, because that's the thing from Chinese face reading. In Western face reading, they talk about almond-shaped eyes versus round eyes. In Chinese face reading, since they all kind of have almond-shaped eyes, they talk about the shape of the lower eyelid there, flat versus rounded. So I'm trying to be racially inclusive here. The next aspect is the depth of the eye, how deep set the eyes are in the skull. Deep set eyes mean that someone is very withdrawn and calculating. They're kind of like watching from afar. I've heard it compared to watching from a cave. These people always think before they speak, and they're, like I said, very calculating. There is a connection with testosterone here, and that testosterone makes your eyes more deep set, and that's why it's a stereotypically attractive masculine feature. Think of hunter eyes, that idea from the incel sphere or the looks maxing sphere. That is because, of course, being calculating, thinking before you speak, that is a more masculine trait. The stereotypical attractive manly man is going to be some guy who sort of sits back and watches and thinks before then coming in and speaking his mind. Now, on the other hand, if the eyes are protruding, if they bulge out, that means that someone has a very strong desire to be socially involved. They really want to speak their mind, they want to speak and be heard, and they have a tendency to blurt things out. Now, this doesn't mean that they're necessarily a yapper, that they talk all the time. They can have a small mouth. That would mean that they don't talk that much. But this means that when they do speak, they really want to speak their mind and they really want to be heard. Deep set eyes person, whether they talk a lot or don't talk that much, they're going to be very calculated with it, and they're much more willing to defer to others, to let the other person talk before them. You'll notice kind of a split with comedians. A lot of the comedians with really planned out jokes like Norm Macdonald will have very deep set eyes, but a lot of comedians who are more guys who speak off the cuff and are really socially involved have bulging eyes like Rodney Dangerfield. A lot of Jews and African Americans